Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today with my top 3 most disappointing games of 2018. We went over our hidden gems, we went over our favorite games of this year, so naturally we have to go over to the negative side and talk about what didn't live up to my personal expectations. Let's start off with one that actually didn't review too poorly, and that's Attack on Titan 2. Now, I'm a huge fan of the anime, and I adored the first Attack on Titan game. I recall watching the show for the first time ever and saying to myself, there is no way you can make a game based off that, and it's a shame because this would be so cool. Well, the devs nailed it in the first game, and I thought it was a blast putting over 40 hours into it. Suffice to say, I was stoked when they announced a second game, and it was also going to cover some of the Season 2 content. Granted, Season 2 in the show wasn't very long, but still it was additional content, and I thought they'd build off of that with some unique original content. Instead, what they did was something akin to what happened between Xenoverse 1 and 2, where a lot of the original title was copy and pasted into the sequel, and then they added some additional content on top of it. I was largely disappointed by this because I felt like I was playing the first game all over again, and then the last 20% was actually brand new content. Now, there was the exciting factor of, for example, being in a little hub world, interacting with some of my favorite characters from the show, and also leveling up my own customized character. That stuff was nice to see, but it overall wasn't enough to push this game over the top and justify what was added in here for a $60 price tag. I expected so much more from this game because there are characters to explore in deeper ways, the conversation system needed work, the art style is still fantastic, and so is the gameplay. Do not get me wrong, it's a fun game to play, and if you're a first timer getting into the Attack on Titan series and want to try out the games, Attack on Titan 2 will be perfect for you. But if you're someone like me who sank an unbelievable amount of time into the first one, you're pretty much playing the same game over again, and you'll be left wanting more. Now, moving on to number 2, We Happy Few. This was one of my most anticipated games of 2018. I simply could not wait to explore the world that Compulsion Games had created. I find them one of the most underrated developers, reminding me of something along the lines of Don't Nod Entertainment, who always experiments and seems to follow the passion instead of what can make them money. We Happy Few seem to echo that. Along with some BioShock vibes, I was on board. I got the game for review and I went right through it, only to be very upset most steps of the way. The reason for that is because this is a title that clearly struggled between choosing when to use procedurally generated content and when to actually create an area themselves. So the world started to feel diluted because certain towns, when you see the rainbow coated streets and various colored buildings, it really pops to you, it stands out, it's visually enticing, but as you go deeper and deeper into the game and you're into the later 20 hours, you start to realize it's just all the same. The story goes on just too much longer than it really needed to. It was fine with its original 2 arcs, but I felt the addition of Ollie's story was completely unnecessary and stretched out an experience that was already overstaying its welcome. But my biggest gripe is easily, like I said, that world space, because there is so much potential there. And when you see the people and the creepy faces, the concept of joy, all of it is such brilliance. I am aware that there have been patches after this game's launch that may have fixed some of my personal issues with it, but don't forget that I played the game, I reviewed it, I moved on. My experience with it was not that great. The game focused a lot on combat, which was a shame because the combat often wasn't that great. Like I said, it took a lot of inspiration from many areas, but it never really created something unique of its own to hold on to, except for the joy, which they did drive that concept home. However, the story based around it really was inconsistent. Overall, We Happy Few flopped on every front that I expected it to be strong at. Couple that with AI constantly being chased down on every single street corner for doing next to nothing, just because at the time for me, my game was glitching, so it became an ultimately more frustrating experience, and I just feel Compulsion Games could have done much better with this recent effort. Last on the list, my most disappointing game of 2018. Can I get a guess? Can anyone guess what it might be? Gee, I wonder. Yes, it is Fallout 76. Now, with the Fallout 76 conversation, it's really hard to add anything original to it. There's been so much talk of it, there's so many reasons why folks are disappointed, and I'm sure you've heard me say it a million times over. There's a reason why I stepped back from the Fallout 76 content. I got bored so incredibly fast. I just didn't want to play this game. I wanted to talk about stuff that was interesting to me. I believe that over time, a very long period of time, maybe Bethesda can No Man's Sky this one and actually bring it to some point of respectability, but it's a long road back to earning any shred of my respect and my trust in them as a developer. As someone who loves the games they've created in the past, between Morrowind, Oblivion, Fallout 3, Skyrim, to see them drop a product like this and simply say, yep, this is what we're doing, and not delay it, I still can't believe it to this day because it's unfreaking real. Yes, they have created some of my favorite games of all time, and no, going into Fallout 76, I did not expect my next favorite game of all time, but I expected something that worked, something that was at least fun, a world that wanted me to come back and explore it. But even like previous BGS games, that failed to call me back. Everything that was enticing about prior Bethesda Game Studios titles is not in this current one. It's just hard to add anything original to this game. You know well and clear why it's disappointing. The bugs, the performance, the quests being hollow, no NPCs. We've been down this road a million times before. I just need to reiterate it for this video that Fallout 76 was the most disappointing game I put my hands on this year. And that will be the conclusion of my short list of very disappointing titles for 2018. Maybe you agree, maybe you don't. At the end of the day, it's just my opinion, and I'd love to hear yours in the comments down below, so do fire away, ladies and gentlemen. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook. Those links are in the description down below, along with my Patreon. Do consider supporting that, as it fuels all the content I create here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.